Hey, what's going on? It's Quinn David Furness. Welcome to my show. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown podcast for Saturday, December 7th, 2019. What's going on? How are you? Take a quick sip here. That's really the type of show we're about to have. Wow, it has been quite a ride over here. If you listened to us last week, you recall that, hang on, I'll be back in 30 seconds. I gotta get a cough drop. Just listen to this. Okay, that wasn't scripted, I promise. Wow, what a ride it's been. If you listened to our show last week with brother of the podcast, Walter Furness, thanks again to Walt for coming on and playing cribbage with us. That was a lot of fun. But you knew that I was not feeling well. I came down with a sore throat on... Let's see. Last Thursday was Thanksgiving. On the evening of Thanksgiving, I came down with a sore throat. And then basically Friday and Saturday, I had a pretty bad cold. But nothing too out of the ordinary, stuff I could handle. And then kind of Sunday, it started to clear up a little bit. And Monday, I felt pretty good. I thought I was over it. I thought it was just a little itty-bitty holiday cold. No big problem there. I wake up Tuesday morning, and I have a super sore throat again. Deja vu all over again. But this time I knew it was going to be trouble because my tonsil had started to get bigger. Now, if you were listening to our show back in 2018 around this time, you know that we had some serious tonsil issues literally a year ago to almost the exact day. It was Thanksgiving 2018 when I was right in the middle of all these issues. Tuesday was pretty bad, but I kind of toughed it out. I was not feeling amazing, but fine enough. And then Wednesday rolls around, and Wednesday is going to be a long day for me because I have a full day of work. And let me interrupt this story real quick to apologize for my voice. If I push it, I can speak in a more normal tone down here and speak like this for a bunch, but it hurts so bad. Because my tongue is really being interfered with my extremely enlarged tonsil. So when I talk up here, it's you might think, oh, Quinn, he's faking it a little bit. No, I mean, this is the way I can talk without causing me too much pain. I'll also say that I don't know how long I'm going to last on this podcast, simply because I really haven't talked in excess length other than short 1-2 word phrases or sentences since probably Tuesday. So and we're recording on Saturday night, so it's been a hell of a past 4 or 5 days. And I'll take this pause in the action to mention that listener discretion is advised when you're listening to the Beantown podcast. Number one, we'll occasionally use some holiday language. And number two, like son of a nutcracker. That's one of my favorite ones. You elfin son of a bitch. That's a good. If you want the full list of what I mean when I say holiday language, go watch the Glenn Ross Christmas sketch on SNL, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And if you've never seen Glengarry Glen Ross, you have to watch it. It's got Kevin Spacey, Alec Baldwin, Ed Harris, Al Pacino, someone else that I'm forgetting. I apologize. It's a great movie, and I think a lot of people haven't seen it. So go check it out. It's amazing. Number 2, this podcast is just subjectively terrible. Don't worry about the music. It's royalty free. So if you occasionally get it in the background, just soak it up, because it's some real nice angelic Christmas themed music. Here's a quick little taste. I don't know if Jesu, Joy of Man's Desire, if that's what it's called, is really a Christmas song, but this happened to pop up on the royalty-free Christmas playlist that I have selected for tonight's episode. I feel a little bit like an NPR show right now. But let's jump back into the story here. So Wednesday is going to be a long day for me, right? I have a full work day, and then I'm supposed to have a Christmas party from 5 to 7 through work. And then I have a focus group downtown on snacks from 8 to 10. So essentially I'm looking at being downtown, excuse me, from about 8:45 in the morning until 10 p.m. at night. And it takes me around an hour to get downtown and then an hour to get home at night. So all in all, we're looking at, 16 hours of being away, which is pretty significant. Anyways, so I get to work in the morning, and my throat is pretty sore, and I can see my tonsil has gotten bigger, and I'm somewhat concerned at this point, but I'm not really sure what to do other than to just go forth with my day, because I had stuff that I was responsible for at work, including an all-staff meeting, which was just, one of those meetings where you look at your watch and it's been an hour and 15 minutes and you're just wondering, what are we doing here? Why was I here? Regardless, I won't say anything more about that because I don't want to lose my job. So I'm sitting there in the meeting, which runs from 3 to 5, and the holiday party is scheduled to begin at 5 and go until 7 at this fancy rooftop bar or restaurant, something like that, in Chicago, close by downtown. And so my plan was to go to that and have many drinks and then go to my focus group buzz. And I was excited to do that because I've never done that before, and I thought it would be an interesting experience. But as I'm sitting there in the meeting, I'm just starting to think to myself, man, I'm really not feeling it. I'm starting to get very tired. My muscles are aching a little bit, and boy, are my ears red, because I think someone turned up the heat in here. It feels a little warm. So by the time we get to 5 o'clock, I'm so tired. I feel just absolutely exhausted that all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? There's no way I can go to this Christmas party, drink, and make it through this focus group and get home when I have to work the next morning. Like, it's just not, the energy is not going to be there for me. So I go back to my office and kind of plot out my next move, because now all of a sudden I have from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. with nothing to do. And really, I don't have that much work to do this week. And I had just spent a full work day in my office, and I'm pretty good at budgeting out, things to do based on when I know I'm going to be in the office. So I didn't have anything left to do that day. And I didn't really want to just sit in my office and, screw around online and stuff, and someone's going to have to give us some tips. And if you have any tips, you can email us beantownpodcast@yahoo.com. Again, this Beantown, Beantown podcast@yahoo.com, because now that Flash is not being supported by web browsers, you can't go to like Andcon or Miniclip or Addicting Games or Congregate or Armor Games or Nitro, maybe. I would have to check back in on that. Or Homestar Runner to just play games. Right? You physically can't do that anymore, which is a damn shame. AKA, besides Sporkle and Reddit, I need some better time wasting sites. Maybe I will check in. There's got to be some good Reddit posts on that. But so I decide, and here's the dilemma I was facing. All I wanted to do was lie down, and not just like rest, relax, but like physically lie my head down, and it's hard to describe this sensation unless you're feeling it. But I was feeling like, oh my God, if I don't physically go prostrate and lie my head down, I think I'm going to just die, which is extreme, but it was about to get a lot worse. So I go up to, there's a student lounge on the floor above my office, and I know there aren't any couches, but they do have big comfy armchairs that have nicely sized ottomans. So I said, you know what, that's probably the closest thing I can get, because I'm not aware of where there's a couch, and there has to be multiple couches in the law school. He just wasn't feeling up to hunting around looking for one. So I go up there and I lie down, and all of a sudden I'm starting to get mega chills in my arms, which is kind of strange. So I put on my coat and I throw my hood on, looking pretty fly, because I'm just going to try to take a nap. And you can't shut the lights off in a big, large student lounge where there are lots of students. I don't even think I know how. So I'm just lying now in this armchair, trying to get comfortable, which is really difficult. And my head is starting to feel so warm, mainly my ears and my cheeks. And I kept putting the back of my palm to my forehead because, thinking, oh, if I have a fever, I'll probably notice it by that test. It didn't really feel like I had a fever, and so I was thinking, no, I don't really know what's going on, but my upper body, for the most part, is getting mega chills, and my head is just on fire, so I'm not really sure what to make of this. So I tried to sleep a little bit. It was one of those situations where all of a sudden you kind of jolt yourself up and you're not sure if you actually slept or what the deal was, how close you came if you didn't. But that happened for about 2 hours before I finally just said enough of this, and my head was so hot that I was just like, you know what, I got to go outside and just walk around until my focus group starts, because I feel like I'm going mentally insane. It's so hot in here. So it's about 7:30. I go walk around outside for a while, and then eventually get to my focus group at about 7:45. The minute I get back in the door, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is very, very hot in here, and I think I'm about to die, and my tonsil has gotten the size of Neptune. This is a problem. In all honesty, the smart move at that point would have certainly been to just go home. But here's the thing, and this wasn't a super propitious focus group by focus group standards, but it was $125 to talk about snacks for 2 hours. And I was just like, you know what? I already stuck around downtown for 12 hours, and I know I feel like absolute garbage, but I'm not going to leave $125 on the table just because I can't tough it out. That's not the Quinn way. And so, like the dumbass I am, I start this focus group. They lead us into this room. There's only 4 of us, which that was the first thing I noticed that I was really just discouraged by. Oftentimes when you do these focus groups, there are 7, 8 people, conference room, table set up. There were just 4 of us. And the reason that's bad is because it means you're going to talk more. And I was already trying to talk as little as possible. Let's just put it that way. And so I knew, we got 2 hours, only 4 of us. hell, that's going to be a lot of speaking time, which normally I don't care. I think these things are interesting, but considering how bad my throat hurt and how just like I was starting to think like it might be time to go to the hospital because of just how much I felt like absolute death. My head was so hot. My body was so cold. I was so sweaty. It was crazy. And the nasal congestion hadn't stopped, and I was worried that I wasn't drinking enough. Oh, and the other thing, I had worked out during my lunch break per usual. But when I got back to my office, I tried to eat my lunch and I could only have like 3 or 4 bites. Before I just looked down at my lunch and I was like, I don't want this. So all I'd had to eat that day was an apple and then 3 or 4 bites of a salad. So not a lot of fuel to go off of. So we start the focus group. It's on snacks. And here's a kicker. And it's not the ultimate kicker because that's coming at the end of the focus group. The room itself was crazy hot. Immediately, everyone else is like, "Bam, it feels really hot in here." And the person leading the focus group is like, "Yeah, it's crazy hot in here. We'll see if we can get someone to work on that." Spoiler alert, no one ever worked on it. That room must have been at least 84, 85 degrees. And I had taken off all I could, but I'm still wearing my button-down shirt and dress pants, socks, dress shoes, belt, all that stuff, because I had been at work that day. When really it would have felt great to be in a wife beater and running shorts, but oh well. So I'm just sitting there sweating my balls off, going through water like crazy, having to get up every literally 5 minutes on average. The people in there must have thought I was nuts, but my head was so red, I looked like I was trying to squeeze one out for 2 straight hours on the toilet. I can imagine. I don't typically look at my face while I'm pooping, but I imagine that's what I looked like. I just got this weird thing where someone was trying to call me. Let's check it out. Let's see what's going on. A missed call. Who is that? There's something weird going on. What on earth is happening? My phone is malfunctioning. What's happening? A friend is, hang on, we're going to put you on pause. And we're back. So, the girl I'm currently seeing had her phone kind of took a hit yesterday. Not literally. Nothing happened physically to cause anything, but it's now having some issues. And she was showing it to me last night. It will do some really funky things. Where it just starts opening apps on its own. It's become sentient. It's crazy. And it'll move through things super fast. So I have 6 missed calls from her in the last 30 seconds. That's how fast this thing moves. I don't know if she's just got a busted phone or if she somehow broke the space-time continuum, but she should get that to the Nobel Prize offices because she might have discovered something really cool. Getting back to the story here, I'm trying to think, where were we? Well, I was at the focus group going through water like crazy. But yeah, I felt real bad. So we were discussing snacks. That's as specific as I can get. I can't share with you the company who was sponsoring the focus group because of an NDA that I signed. But I will share with you that we did some taste tests, which was exciting on paper because I've been doing focus groups for a long time. I did them when I was in college and grad school, not when I was in Baltimore because I couldn't get to any of the sites where they would hold them. But I've already, since I moved back to Chicago in the last 6 months, and it's been 6 months and about 3 days since I moved back, which is exciting. I've probably done 5 or 6 already, which is great. A lot of extra money. this is the first time in my life that I've ever done a focus group that involves taste testing. So we tried a couple different products that this company was either rolling out or considering rolling out. I don't know which. And normally this would be great because I'm always down for, snack foods and eating a bunch, and you could see the rest of the people around me were just going crazy with these things. But me not feeling very confident in my stomach and also not having had an appetite at all that day, it was just not as jazzed. So I felt like Gordon Ramsay, I had, one bite and that was it. That's all I could really handle. Where normally I'd be scarfing it down. But here is the kicker to end all kickers. So I'm already really hot, clearly have a fever going. The room is crazy hot. And this last snack that they bring out is extra hot, was its flavor. So, I had the smallest amount possible without them noticing that I wasn't really tasting it, because I just had a small piece, and I already felt like I was going to die, so I don't really know what level is beyond that, but it took it up to an 11. I was about ready at that point, with 5 minutes left in the focus group, to just get out of there and say, no, I don't need my money, and call an ambulance or an Uber at the very least to take me to the emergency room, because I was just like, oh my God, this is not going to end well. I don't know what's going to happen. At that point, I didn't really feel like I was going to vomit or have diarrhea. I don't even know how to describe it. I just felt like it was all going to end. That's how existentially dreadful it was. So I put on a happy face like the Joker, and after the focus group wraps up at 10 p.m., I go to the bathroom. I have to pee because of all the water I'd been drinking. I also just completely dunk my head in the sink. The guys, when I got out, must have thought I was a raving lunatic with my hair all wet. But I did what I had to do. I get out, I get my $125, and I get down the elevator, and that's the end of the focus group story, right? Well, there's still one last piece, right? Because now I'm sitting there at Clark and Monroe at 10:15 p.m. on a Wednesday night, and I live up in Rogers Park. So you're thinking, well, Quinn, you still got to get home. You'd be right. And we're going to get to that half of the story and what happened after I got home, because clearly I did eventually get home, keyword eventually. We're going to read the ads real quick, and then I promise we're going to jump right back into the story. Home Pride Oregon, are you tired of selling your house for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? Well, Oregon listeners, there's good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider, with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and home inspection certified, so you know you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate ankle hold on the home inspection market, and you want a safe, certified home inspector you can trust, call Steve at 541-410-0316 or visit homeprideoregon.com. Again, it's 541-410-0316, or you can visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon, inspection perfection. All right. I want to give a shout out to the Samson Q2U series. It's got crisp, clean audio quality that you can trust. From Romans to Galatians to Colossians to Ephesians, Old Testament, New Testament, Christian or Jewish, we don't discriminate. Remember, when God speaks, he uses a Samson. I also want to give a holiday shout out to Jack Link's beef jerky. It's tasty, it's delicious, it fills you up, it's a great source of protein. It's a little expensive, but we can work on that. Jack Link's, if you're out there, we would love a corporate sponsorship, and I know you would love us. So think about it. I've been watching a lot of Better Call Saul, and every time there's a lot of cartel action going on, so someone says, think about it, that really means do it or else I'm going to kill your family. That's not what I mean, Jack Links, because frankly it seems like a lot of work. But you think about it, I guess is what I'm saying. Shout out to Halls, a new friend of the podcast, because this cough drop I've been working on is really saving my butt. When I started the show, I could barely get it going, and this is helping me out immensely. Let's see. We want to say one more thing. We're going to do Cuts by Q, and then I have a special announcement, something that just popped up, and then we are going to get back to the story. Cuts by Q. Bob and weave. We all know the hairstyle. We all love it. But how many Chicago-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, just a little different. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995 and is probably one of the better barbershop operations serving Chicago, Cook County, and the Chicagoland area. From beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops and everything in between, call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200 or email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. Again, that's Cuts. QETZ by q@yahoo.com. This is going to be rough. Oh, when you need a fresh do, something snappy and new, just call the experts at Cuts by Q. All right. I mentioned we have an announcement, something that came up. So I've been kind of alluding to this on podcasts in the past, but you may or may not realize that right now, and I didn't realize this until 5 minutes ago, you're currently listening to the 100th weekly installment of Quinn David Furness Presents the Beantown podcast. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That's pretty awesome. 100 episodes. Plus, we're at about 7 Beantown Unplugged specials. Countless guests. Countless repeat guests. Countless states. I've never gone in and totaled the current number of states that we podcasted from, but I would give it a rough estimate of somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. And man, it's been fun. I feel like I've done a lot of sick podcasts. This one last week, our Beantown concert series with Matthew Fiedler, I was sick as a dog and a nasty cold for that one. We've had a lot of friends and family come on the podcast. We've had college roommates on the podcast. We've had brothers. We've had sisters. We've had parents. We've had grandparents. We've had an entire interview with my grandma, Sal. We've had, we've had great dating stories. We've talked about the parking girl. We even have an entire Beantown podcast episode that has never been released. The hardcore fans know about this. It comes from Memorial Day weekend of 2018. So that was when the podcast was only about 4 or 5 months old. There's a podcast we did with an ex, and it didn't turn out well, and then it ended up leading to us breaking up. And that episode never made it onto live air. It still lives on my computer. I've never listened to it before. I will one of these days, I promise. and we'll kind of go from there. I have a couple other projects in the works right now, so it's not really high priority. But, we look back on 100 episodes. It's been a great, fun ride. Thanks, everyone who's supported. I know year 2 has been a lot more challenging for me than year 1 was. And look for, some change-ups, some change of pace options for year 3. It won't be exactly the same as what we've done in the past. But I think it's best for the show, and we'll announce those as the time comes. But yeah, it's exciting. 100 episodes, and here's to 100 more. I think we can do it. So don't expect a year 2 4-hour special like we did for year 1. Man, that was a lot of work, and that was also. Well, no, that was post-Mac surgery. My Mac is really slow, guys. Even right now, it's struggling to make it a 4-hour iMovie. It's not going to make it. But we've got lots of exciting things coming up, right? We're going to have some family on the podcast. We're actually going to have friends of the podcast on next week. I anticipate Ryan and Kristen English will be on, which we're really excited about. They haven't been on in way too long. It's been far too long for those guys. So hopefully we'll get them back on the show. We've got 2 unplugged specials coming up. We've got our interview with Mom, talking about her time in prison, which I think is going to be emotional, but I think really good for some healing. And then we also have our audiobook of Scott Farrell's autobiography. So a year is wrapping up, but there's so much to look forward to. And don't even forget, once February hits, we get into our pledge drive, our 3rd annual pledge drive. Can you believe it? 3rd annual. That's so cool. Guys, we're doing it. Okay. But we should get back to the story because there's still so much to tell. So to catch you up on where we were, I had just gone out of the focus group, just finished trying the extra hot snacks. And I was just like, I knew at this point I had to get home. I had actually, and I'm not this type of person, because I'll never pay for an Uber all the way from downtown to my house. It's just absurd. But I actually pulled up the app just to check out the price, just to price it. And I can't really tell you, what the price would have had to have been, how low it would have had to have been for me to consider it. But whatever I saw, it wasn't low enough. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. So I walked to the train. Of course, it feels good to get outside because it's so cold outside, and that feels amazing on my head. So I get down to the red line. Don't have to wait too long. It's like 6 or 7 minutes for a train, which is not bad for that time of night. And I get a seat, no problem. And I'm thinking, okay, now I just gotta, everything's gotta hold still. I got some music playing quietly in my ears. I feel really awful, but I think I can do this. I think that I can get home on this train. It's going to be about 35 minutes on the train. I can do it. So we're riding through the subway, and I'm just thinking, we get to stop after stop, and I'm just like, I don't think I can do it. And again, it wasn't necessarily the nausea or like I have to shit my pants. There was just like this overwhelming sense of, damn, is this how it ends for me, sitting on a red line train going north towards Howard? Well, the train emerges out of the subway as we get to Fullerton, and all of a sudden my mouth is starting to salivate ever so slightly, which for a lot of people might mean there are cinnamon rolls on the way. For me, it means, oh crap, Quinn's going to spew before too long. So we get to Belmont, and I'm thinking, well, maybe because it hasn't really intensified at all, and I still don't really feel nauseous. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I can maybe I can, it's only going to be another 12, 13, 14 minutes. Maybe I can do this. The train pulls out of Belmont, and all of a sudden the first wave of nausea hits, and I can sense it right away, and my mouth starts to salivate big time, and I'm like, nope, not going to make it. And we wrote about this in a Beantown blog post today, but I mentioned in the article that my body does a really good job of informing me when I'm about to vomit. This was this was not an exception to that rule. So as we're pulling into Addison, I'm just hating myself because I'm like, all I need to do is get home. I can sleep, I can rest, whatever, and get into my bed. I had actually already emailed my office saying there was no chance in hell I was going to be able to come in the following day, which was fine. I wasn't missing too much. So I was like, I just got to get to my bed. Then I can rest for as long as I want. Instead, I'm about to hop off onto the Addison platform where there's going to be other people, and I'm going to puke, so I better find a trash can. So I grab my stuff, walk off onto the Addison platform. There's a trash can not too far. Thankfully, it didn't have a cover on it, or else I was just going to have to rip the cover off. And just like clockwork, like everyone was on the exact same page, I walk over and just, boom, right into the trash can. It was actually very graceful as far as vomits go. A couple heaves, and we were good. Wipe my mouth, my coat sleeve, and I sit down, and the next train is, another 10 minutes away, and so I wait for that. I should also mention I couldn't really check my phone or anything at this point because even just like looking at a screen and having things moving was just absolutely brutal. I had a pretty bad headache by this point, and I couldn't read. That was making me really nauseous. So I'm just sitting there at 10:45 at night, just staring off into the darkness at the Addison Red Line stop, having just vomited. There really wasn't much in my stomach. It was mostly water, and then some apples and some salad. Eventually the train comes back. I hop back on. It feels like it takes, so I live half a mile from the train stop. It feels like it takes me 20 minutes to walk that half mile. And I think that's exaggerated, but I think it might have been 14 or 15 minutes. And my normal walk is about 8 minutes. Man, it was just every step felt like, it was like I was on mile 22 of a marathon or something, where it's just like, oh my God, just one foot in front of the other. And I'd been sitting on my butt all day. I finally get into bed. I finally get in my apartment, throw everything down, strip off, clothes on the floor, and just get right into bed. I should mention that the night before, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, it was strange. I had trouble sleeping, but not really in a negative way. I just kept waking up. But I would go back to bed and kind of have that peaceful feeling that comes from, emerging into or unconsciousness. But then I kept waking up. But it was like, oh, it's going to be 6:45 now, time to wake up. But it would be like 4 o'clock, then 4:15, and 4:30. And I really didn't mind it because I kept getting to go back to sleep. It was, I don't know, it was kind of a strange thing. Anyways, the same experience was true the following night, except this time I had about 103-degree fever. After about an hour, I realized as I kind of switched positions in bed, it was about midnight at this point, maybe 1 a.m., that I was just completely lying in a puddle of sweat. Like, my bed sheets were soaked through all the way down to the floor. And my bed is about a foot off the floor, so that's pretty impressive. So I get up, I go into the bathroom, and grab a towel, and as I'm grabbing the towel, I feel the nausea come back over me, And at this point, I'm just thinking, like, what kind of cruel joke is this? I mean, I don't even have anything left to vomit out. So I grab the bucket from the pantry and hop back in bed. I put a towel under me, and I can't even close my eyes before I have to sit back up and vomit again. That was fun. And eventually, after a lot of tossing and turning, I was able to do some sleeping here and there. I mean, we're pretty much getting towards the end of the story here. But bear in mind, that was just me waking up Thursday. And it's now Saturday night, and basically what's happened in the last 48 to 72 hours. I saw a doctor Thursday midday, took some tests, everything came back negative. Doc just said, let me get some water here. Doc just said that all I can really do is just rest, unless I want to go to a specialist and get some crazy tests done. But that's the type of thing where I'm probably going to have to wait many, many days to get in. So I haven't made that call yet, which is, I probably should have just called them right away. And if I needed to cancel the appointment, I could have, because it probably would have been early this upcoming week. Oh, well, it hasn't happened. So I went home and, no significant progress or anything, just a, $80 doctor's bill. So really the last 2.5 days, I've just been taking ibuprofen and Tylenol every 4 hours, alternating between those two. Sleeping a ton, watching a lot of TV, and the fever, I'm happy to say, probably by yesterday at midday, pretty much broke for good. And one thing I didn't mention are the body aches. I never felt body aches like that before. I was walking around on Thursday to the doctor and back. It was about a little over a mile away. Almost impossible to walk. My hips were so sore that I was just like, how is this possible? What did I do to deserve this? Really rough. The chills are now gone. I haven't felt the chills in about a day, which is good. I did finally eat something, and that's one other thing I had mentioned. So I didn't eat anything after Wednesday at midday. I did not eat the rest. Oh, I also didn't eat any dinner on Tuesday night because I really just wasn't having an appetite. So from Tuesday night, I had a little bit on, I had an apple and 3 bites of salad on Wednesday, but I ended up puking that all up later that day. Thursday, I did not eat anything. And Friday, I didn't eat anything until very late. My lady, like the champ in making that she is, brought us over some soup, and I had that at about 7 p.m., which was very kind, very generous of her. But it had been a while. I finally ate like a normal person today. I went to my normal diner and had my normal breakfast order, which was I was really happy about that. And then I had some rotisserie chicken for dinner, which was good. Nice to get some protein back in me. First time since like Tuesday at lunch that I'd had any significant protein. Otherwise, the big issue is my tonsil is still large and in charge. It's pretty easy to see back in there. You get your iPhone flashlight going. A hot combination of white pus and red swollenness. There's got to be a good band name in there somewhere. You don't really know what to do about it. We did a call to action for the fans. Maybe swap some bleach on there. It could be fun. We'll see. It's worth a shot, I think. But I'll keep you updated on that. Anyways, and that brings us up to the present, Saturday night. Here I am. So I still have some nasal congestion, believe it or not. This is like day 10 of that. It's just ridiculous. Otherwise, pretty much the big problem is my tonsil. Still hurts pretty bad to swallow. My voice is not back to normal. My energy levels definitely picked up a little bit today, but I really haven't done anything since Tuesday night is the last time I really went out and did anything. So we're holding down the fort up here 2 weekends in a row, lying sick as a dog on the couch. Just a heck of a start to the holiday season. So we're doing our best. But that's the story of Quinn's tonsillitis, second year in a row. And thanks for listening, because I'm glad I could make my odyssey your odyssey. This is our 100th episode, and that's exciting. So if you're listening, if you're around the fire with family, or if you're at your office on a Monday morning thinking, wow, does it ever get better? I don't know the answer to that, but what I can tell you is, hey, when I started this podcast, I never thought we'd get to 100 episodes plus 7 specials. But here we are. So raise your glass, get some champagne, some brandy, some Malort, whatever your drink of choice is, and have one on us. I would drink with you, but there's no way it's good for my tonsils. I had a couple blue moons on Tuesday night and have not had anything since then, which is probably good preparation because dry January starts in 3.5 weeks for me. So that's an annual tradition we do, where we do not drink during the month of January. So that's about all I got for you. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm going to give my voice a rest because this has been somewhat of a Herculean feat for me. Yeah, I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is, whether you got finals if you're in college or if you're in fantasy football playoffs, if you're into that sort of thing, or if you're a big, I don't know, Premier League fan and things are heating up there. I don't know. Do they play in the winter? Doesn't it get cold in England? How does that work? We'll get a soccer expert on to help us answer those questions. Tune in next week. We'll be coming to you live from behind the Cheddar Curtain near Madison, Wisconsin. First time we've ever podcasted from there. That should be exciting. So look for some fun stuff and some tomfoolery all at the same time. Okay, that's what we got for you. Thanks to our music once again. There's a great Jane Lynch Christmas album. She covers this song along with Kate Flannery from The Office. You're going to want to listen to it. I know I'm going to go listen to it. Merry Christmas. Oh, we still got a couple more episodes. We'll get there. God, I sound like a smoker. All right. Damn. We'll talk to you later.